don't know if they can see my screen. It looks a bit blurry on my side. I just close it and maybe start again.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Was it blurry as well? Or was that just me? Okay, so everybody can see the order tutorial, right?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so I suppose before we start, how many of you guys have had a chance to go through the paper, attempt it, mark yourself?
I went through the paper, but I didn't get a chance to mark it.
Okay, okay. How many people have, wait, so when you say you went through the paper, did you attempt it? Or did you just read through?
Yes.
Okay, so you've attempted. Okay, how many people attempted but have not marked?
I also attempted, but I didn't get a chance to mark it.
Okay, you've also attempted but haven't marked. Okay, how many have not attempted but have at least read the paper? Okay, I see one more. Okay, so the way that I approach tutorials is to read it with you guys and sort of have a debate around what the thought process is as we're reading. Because it is a tutorial, I'm expecting more of the engagement to come from your side because I need to hear how you guys are thinking so I can then correct your thinking. And then what we will do, because of the way that this paper is structured, we'll look at the required and then we'll chat through. So I think maybe the first half we'll read the paper, and then after that we'll chat through the solution. Okay, so the tutorial is Paul Green. It starts off, oh sorry, just also before I continue, I've got a fan on in the background. Is it not making a noise? Can you guys hear me fine?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, it starts off by saying that Lily Bloom incorporated Paul Green Pty Ltd, PG, in 2005. PG acquired a property located in a major tourist road close to Paarl in the Western Cape and opened a nursery that sells plants and gardening products to the public. The plants and gardening products are purchased from third-party suppliers. Due to the recent drought in the Western Cape, Lily decided to diversify the company's operations to benefit from the natural beauty of the property. After reading that paragraph, is there anything that you guys think is important? Or
it's a listed company.
Even something noteworthy. Hi. Sorry? Please just repeat that.
You asked if there's anything that is noted. I noted that it is, oh, it's private. Sorry, it's a private company.
Yes, it's a private company. So you would note that it's a private company. In thinking about a private company, you would then, I suppose, acknowledge the fact that the risks and any requirements that are applicable in a listed company would not necessarily be applicable here, right?
Yes.
Okay, then the next paragraph says that PG raised funds from new shareholders, which is used to construct 3 new buildings on its property. It has operated the following businesses since 2019. The first one is Green Fingers, which is a nursery, PG's original business. The second one is Green Room, which is a restaurant housed in one of the new buildings with a seating capacity of 60 people. And Green Space, a traders market that operates in and around the other 2 buildings. Third-party traders who sell paintings, sculptures, ceramic works, home decorations, and clothing rent stalls from PG in which they sell their crafts and specialized products to the public. The rental periods vary from a day up to 24 months. Anything that you note there? Okay, I think this provides good context into, what the business is, what they do. Also, we are seeing that there's different revenue streams. So we've got more than one revenue stream. We've got a revenue stream from a nursery, we've got a revenue stream from a restaurant, and a revenue stream from a traders market. Cool. Then they say that customers of Green Fingers and Green Room ordinarily pay by means of debit or credit cards, with cash receipts accounting for 20% of the total takings. There are no credit sales. Green Space traders deposit their rental payments directly into PG's bank account. Traders who pay their rentals upfront qualify for discounts on the normal rental charges. The earlier the payment is made, the larger the discount received. In recognition of the challenging economic conditions experienced in South Africa, a few traders have been permitted to settle their rentals for periods of up to 3 months after the stall has been rented. Is there anything that you guys are noticing there? Okay, so they tell us that customers pay by debit or credit cards, and then they say that there are no credit sales. And they also tell us that for the traders markets with the rentals, those people do direct deposits into the bank account. So what does that tell you? Hello?
Hear me?
I can hear you now. What does that tell you?
I think I just missed the line. I think it's better on my side.
Ooh. But I can hear you. So
Let me give the another person.
okay. Does anybody else want to give it a try? I can't see hands and I can't see the chat. So if you guys can please just unmute and then speak.
I'm thinking maybe everything is on a payment basis.
You're thinking what, sorry?
Everything's on a payment basis and not invoice.
Well, I mean, there would be invoices, otherwise how do they recognize revenue?
Okay.
Sorry?
The fraud. IS2.
What about fraud are you thinking?
I was hoping for you not
You're hoping for me.
to ask it.
I'm trying to understand your thinking process. So you need to invite me into your mind. Let me walk in your mind a little bit.
Today is a brain block.
No, let's try and unblock that. Okay, let's think about accounting, right? When you do accounting, what are you thinking when it comes to a revenue transaction? What do your journal entries normally look like for revenue?
Oh, wow. Okay, it's easy, but let me think. The first question is that, okay,
Auditing is easy, accounting is easy, all of this is easy. It's just about unlocking that part of your brain that acknowledges that all of this is easy.
easy, but I have a brain block.
Okay, let's see if someone can help you. Who knows the journal entries to recognize revenue?
Okay, the journal entry to recognize the revenue, I will debit bank because it's cash, and then I will credit sales, which is
Yes.
revenue.
That is absolutely correct. So because we're debiting bank and they're saying there's no credit sales, we're not expecting to see debtor transactions, right?
Yes.
Yeah, correct. So I'm going to ask you guys to please bear with me for 2 seconds. The power just came back on and I want to switch to my bigger screen because I'm struggling a little bit with this one. Just give me a minute. Please stop sharing here. So if we say that we aren't expecting to see any debtor transactions, from a risk assessment perspective, what are we sort of looking out for? Wouldn't you say that you're looking out for anything that indicates that there is potentially a debtor transaction? The window disappeared. Is it back up yet?
Not yet.
My sincerest apologies for this. Okay. I think I've got it now. Can you guys see it now? Are you able to see the screen now?
Yes, we can
Okay.
see the
Yes, we
screen.
can see.
Okay, thank you for the patience and apologies for the inconvenience. Okay, so we're not expecting to see data transactions because they're saying that they don't have any credit sales. So if we do see data transactions, it's something that we would need to look at pretty closely. Then they also say traders who pay their rentals up front. Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to ask, will I be wrong if I'm thinking about the incorrect recognition of revenue since other customers deposit their money upfront?
Yes, yes. So that was the point I was coming for now, that traders who pay their rentals upfront qualify for discounts on the normal rental charges, right? The earlier the payment is made, the larger the discounts received. So that means that there's discounts received, which brings in a slight complexity when it comes to accounting. And then you've also got to have a consideration around revenue received in advance, right? Is that where you were going with it?
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad. Yeah. And then there's a discount received portion. Then they also say, in recognition of the challenging economic conditions experienced in South Africa, a few traders have been permitted to settle their rentals for periods up to 3 months after the stall has been rented, right? So there's some revenue that's coming in late there, right? From an accounting perspective, if you've got the revenue coming in late and you don't have debtors necessarily, what are you kind of thinking? Doesn't IFRS 15 and IFRS 9 talk about when it comes to your receivables, you must consider whether or not you've got a significant financing component? Have you guys seen that when you were studying your accounting? Does the terminology sound familiar? Whether you understand how to do it or not is a different thing, but have you heard of it before?
Yes, IFRS 15.
Yeah, so from a risk assessment perspective, that would actually also be a risk because it introduces a slight complexity of accounting. But the 3 months, I don't think 3 months would be considered to be significant, but it depends on the circumstances. Anything else in this paragraph? Okay, I also didn't see anything in this paragraph apart from the risks and then those things that we would want to look out for. So they say, although PG trading volumes were low in 2020 and the early part of 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the PG businesses have since become very popular with locals and tourists alike. PG currently employs 20 full-time staff members and a further 30 individuals are contracted on a regular basis for work over weekends and during peak times. The company's businesses are expecting to continue to grow in the future. Is there anything that you guys pick up there? So they tell us that there's full-time workers and there's contracted workers. If I do that, does it unblock the brain a little bit? There's a mix of salaries and wages. Full-time employees normally earn salaries, and contracted workers, especially if you're working on a weekend, you would probably earn a wage, right?
It can be a mix-up of recognition.
They can be. There can be a risk when it comes to the recognition of the expenses and how they do it, because when it comes to payroll, the way that you treat full-time employees versus wage workers is not necessarily the same, right? They've also given us the number of the employees. What would you want to do with that?
Number of employees be over or under?
Sorry?
Number of employees be
Yeah, what would you do with the number of employees? Why would you need that information?
in order to know the total number of years or salary at the end of the year?
Well, they won't all earn the same. So, I mean, you won't really know. But think more what we discussed yesterday with regards to the regulations in the Companies Act.
I'm coming back.
Okay, there's a calculation we spoke about that can be done to determine whether or not a company needs to be audited. What is that calculation called?
Hello,
Public
sorry.
interest score, Nati.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yes.
you're coming there.
The PI.
Yeah, you can calculate a PI score. This is one of the elements required to calculate a PI score. So if ever, you see the number of employees, and then later you see a revenue number, and later you see a liabilities number, in the required, you could be asked to calculate a PI score. The information would be there, right? Okay. So remember, at this point, you haven't received the required yet. So you're thinking very broadly. You don't know what they're going to ask you, right? Okay. Then they say PG's accounting records are maintained by means of reputable cloud-based accounting software. Greenspace also uses it for invoicing. These sales invoices are processed using the data on Greenspace's store booking application. Invoices are processed at the end of each month for the stores that had been booked for the month. Traders who pay their rent upfront are invoiced net of discounts on the date that their deposits are received. Green Fingers and Green Room use the off-the-shelf purchased point of sale software, and the amounts extracted from the software are journalized into PG's accounting records by the company's financial director, Daisy Bloom, CASA. What do you guys think about this paragraph?
What I've picked is that Daisy Bloom is a chartered accountant, so he has to comply with the CICA Code of Professional Conduct.
Okay, great. Which parts of the CICA Professional Code of Conduct?
I think it will be part 2 for chartered accountant in business.
What about part 1?
Part 1, I'm not sure. I'll have to come back.
So part 1 is what gives us the threats and the fundamental principles. Does it need to comply with that as well?
Yes.
Yeah, so she needs to comply with parts 1 and parts 2 of the CICA Code of Professional Conduct. Great. Anything else in this paragraph that you guys are seeing?
Hi.
So hi, yes.
Could you say that there's a risk of error because she generalizes? So like sounds like manual input of the revenue.
I would be worried that the systems are not integrated. The lack of integration on the system could potentially be a risk of material misstatement. Yeah, that's correct. Anything else? They're telling us that the system that they use is a reputable cloud-based accounting software. So to me, that says from a control perspective over the IT controls, there might be an element of reliance that can be placed, and maybe the risk of errors in accounting can be decreased because it's a reputable software, because they also use the software for invoicing. So just something that can mitigate the risk a bit, right? Do you agree, disagree? Agree, disagree? Question mark? Can you guys hear me still?
Yes, we can hear you, Nonku.
Do you agree?
Question mark.
You've got a question mark. Okay. So accounting softwares are very important because that feeds into the numbers, right? When it comes from an auditing perspective, the auditors will always want to know if they can place reliance on your system. Is your system calculating things correctly? Especially because the invoices are coming here net of deposits. It's a little bit of a complex transaction, and we spoke about that earlier. We want to know that the system can adequately account for these things to reduce that risk that we spoke about earlier, that there could be complexities in accounting. So we're seeing that the invoicing system is not a manual system. So doesn't that give you a little bit of comfort?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, cool. Then they say PG has a 30 September year end and has adopted IFRS as its financial reporting framework. The annual financial statements are prepared by Daisy. Anything that you guys would like to do with this information? Whenever I see a year end, I like to draw a timeline so that I can see if they give me any other dates, so that I know what's happening before year end, after year end, before the financial year even begins, and things like that. It's easy to understand the consequences of different things when you know when what is happening, right? So that's just what I do. I think from an exam technique perspective, it would be good practice to draw a timeline whenever you see the year end. And then we know they use IFRS. That's great. Then they say Rose Bush and Associates, a firm of professional accountants, has undertaken an independent review of PG's annual financial statements since its 2018 financial year. However, at PG's annual general shareholders meeting held in February 2022, the shareholders approved the following based on recommendations made by Daisy. An external audit of PG's annual financial statements should be undertaken for the year ended 30 September 2022. Wise and Willow Incorporated should be appointed as the company's first registered auditors, and Daisy must agree the audit fees with WW, which is Wise and Willow, as she knows its methodology and can save costs by preparing most of the audit working papers herself. What do we think about that paragraph? Are you happy with the contents of the paragraph?
I'd say no, especially
What do
the last bullet points that says Daisy must agree the audit fees with WW. She knows the methodology.
Why does that bother you?
So I'd say it touches on compliance.
Talk to me. Compliance with what? Compliance with what? What are you thinking?
I'm still thinking.
Isn't it the Companies Act
Okay, what does the Companies Act say?
that the audit committee has to come up with the audit fees?
The Companies Act says that the audit committee needs to make the recommendation to the shareholders on who to appoint as the auditors. In this case, Daisy is the one who's making these recommendations. How is Daisy making the recommendation instead of an audit committee? Why is she the one making recommendations to the shareholders on who to appoint? So that's the first issue of non-compliance. So you're correct, just not 100% correct.
Okay.
Cool. Anything else?
I think on the last part, oh, you can go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to say on the last bullet point there, when they say like they can save the cost because she can prepare most of the audit working papers herself.
Okay, what did you want to say about that?
To say like if ever they appointing the audit firm, why will she be preparing the working papers?
Why do you have a problem with her preparing the working papers?
My understanding is the auditors who must come and then do this work.
So what's wrong if she does
it? Director. It's like she'll be doing the work for the auditors. That's my issue.
Yeah, what's the problem with that?
Because she's a financial director, she'll be like she'll prepare the financials. So I can again she do the working papers. So she'll be.
So you're worried about a self-review thread?
Pardon?
You're worried about a self-review thread?
Yes.
Okay, to what? To which fundamental principle?
I think it's gonna touch in integrity, objectivity.
I think I like objectivity a little bit more than integrity, but you could swing integrity, I suppose. Also, professional competence and due care, I think. Doesn't she know that she's not supposed to prepare audit working papers? Like, she should know that the auditors need to do that, right? If she doesn't know that, then from a competence perspective, she's lacking.
I agree.
Anything else in this paragraph?
Hi, Unati.
Hi.
Would I be wrong to think that there might be a familiarity trait there, but looking at it from the point of view of the auditors, because how does she know their methodology?
Yes, where does she know this methodology from? You know?
Yeah.
At this point, we don't know yet, but I mean, it brings a question to say she knows the methodology. Like, I know when I was in audit, our clients didn't know our methodology. So how does she know the methodology? We don't know as yet, but that is something that we want to ask ourselves, you know, as we read this thing to see, maybe we'll get more information, but we're not comfortable with the fact that she knows the methodology, right?
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Good one. Anything else?
Could we also? Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, could we also say from the auditor's perspective that there is an independence issue because she's gonna be preparing working papers for the auditors and she works for the company.
It's definitely an independence issue, but how do you want to phrase it? What is your issue?
That one I don't know.
It could still be the very same self-review thread. It could also still be the very same familiarity thread. Two independent.
Why would it be a self-review thread?
Because she's preparing working papers that speak to financial statements that she compiled.
Oh.
Remember, they told us that she's the one who's compiling the financial statements. The company's annual financial statements are prepared by Daisy. When you audit, what do you audit? You audit the financial statements. So if she's preparing working papers, she's preparing working papers that speak to the same financial statements that she prepared. So how is she going to audit her own work?
Okay, I didn't think of that because since she's not part of the audit team, I didn't think that was
not part of the audit team, but she's going to be preparing papers, so she's going to give it to them. So by de facto, she's part of the audit team. she's the director.
Oh,
and she's
okay.
So you ask yourself, what does she actually do here? She's everywhere.
Okay.
She's everywhere.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. Anything else?
I think
You're
from
correct.
the
independence issue, you just can't say it's an independence issue. You need to bring in the threat. Guys, this paragraph is loaded. Are you guys not seeing anything else?
From the auditor's perspective, I think there will be a risk of material misstatement at financial statements level due to the audit being performed for the first time.
Beautiful. Company's first registered auditors. Anything else? So this shareholders meeting was held in February of 2022, and they're talking about financial statements for September 2022. In essence, there's 7 months away from year end. That was when the appointment was made. At this point, we don't know if that's enough time, but if ever you were to think from a pre-engagement activities perspective, you would need to consider the time that you have to complete the audit. Right. Agree, disagree? Question marks?
Agree.
Okay.
Agree.
Okay. Then they say the board of directors, and they tell us, despite being a private company, PG's shareholders recognize the importance of a well-constituted board of directors. The board of PG comprises the following members: Oswald Titus, who is the chairperson and non-executive director. He was appointed on the 31st of October 2021. His background is that he's a politician. He was the former mayor of Paarl, and that's it. Then we've got Palesa Mosala, who is a non-executive director who was appointed on the 1st of January 2018, a well-known businesswoman and a major shareholder in PG. We've got Pine Prince, who is a CASA, non-executive director, appointed on the 1st of October 2019, managing partner of Prince Inc., a firm of professional accountants, but which does not provide any services to PG. We've got Lily Bloom, who is a managing director. 12 July was the appointment in 2015. She's the founder of PG and an enthusiastic gardener. Then we've got Daisy Bloom, who is a CSA. She's the financial director. Her appointment was 1 April 2021. She's the daughter of Lily Bloom. She has been dating Pine Prince since 2019. She qualified as a CASA in 2021 and completed her training contract with WW and is responsible for PG's entire accounting function, including the banking of all cash receipts. As a private company and relying on the proportionality principle recognized in King 4 report as an alternative option, the board agreed that no board committees should be established. All governance-related matters should be dealt with at the board level. PG has the following shareholders: Lily Bloom with a 40% shareholding, Palesa Mosala with a 40% shareholding, Oswald Titus a 10% shareholding, PG Employee Share Trust 10% holding, and the PG Employee Share Trust holds shares in PG on behalf of the company's 20 full-time staff members. How do we feel about the information we've just ingested?
Not good.
Not good. What don't we like?
My first one is Palesa. She's a major shareholder in PG, which actually triggers that she's not independent.
That's correct. She's not independent, but they didn't tell us that she's independent. They just said she's non-executive.
So on that part, now can we talk about this now? Can we reason together, please?
We have to talk about this.
Because now, so if they don't say
Okay, like you see now they wrote the non-executive director. If they don't say if it's independent or not, and I can see that, oh, this person does not meet the criteria of being independent, how do I deal with it like the way you just asked that question?
Why do you want Palisa to be independent?
She's not. She's
Yeah, but
supposed
why do you
not
want
to
her
be.
Why do you want her to be?
Yo, good question.
She doesn't have to
Independent.
be. It's not a requirement that she must be independent. She can be non-executive.
I just went through this one. Okay, I'm coming back. I'm coming back.
Okay. Take a seat.
All right.
Anybody else?
Yes, Lwandile.
Can I come in?
Yes, please do.
Okay, I wanted to speak about Daisy Bloom. I see where it says that she completed a training contract with WW. Wouldn't that be where the knowledge of the audit methodology is coming from? Yeah.
That's how she knows the methodology, because she did her articles there. So now that we have the context of where she did her articles and why she knows the methodology, do we have any issues with that?
I think that she won't be completely independent from the audit firm, or maybe she might have relations with members of the audit firm that she may influence.
That she may influence, right? So she could influence them either from a familiarity perspective. Let's also think about the fact that when she finished her articles, she was third year, and then she left her second years. And so now her second years are her third years. Do you think about intimidation maybe?
Yeah, possible.
I mean, the current third years who used to be her second years, and the current second years who used to be her first years might feel intimidated by her, right? I mean, she was their superior not so long ago.
Yes.
So there's an intimidation threat, but to which fundamental principle from the auditor's perspective?
Objectivity.
To integrity.
I think objectivity. I also think integrity. They could be scared to be honest, similar to what we discussed yesterday. So I think there's a familiarity as well as an intimidation threat to both the principles of objectivity as well as integrity. That's a good one. Does anybody else have any views?
Yes, I would say in terms of King 4, majority of the board of directors must be independent, right? So in this case, Lily Blom is not, and then Palisa is not independent because they have shares in the company, and then also is it Oswald? Yeah, Titus.
Okay, so let's first correct the theory. King doesn't say that the majority of the board members must be independent. It says the board must comprise of a balance of power, right? That balance of power is that you must have non-executive directors. Of your non-executive directors, majority of them must be independent.
Okay.
So now, if we look here, we have 1, 2, 3 we've got 3 non-executive directors, right? So Titus is a non-executive director. Palisa is a non-executive director, and Pam is a non-executive director. Of these 3 non-executive directors, who is independent?
It's only but which it's only Pine.
Pine is dating Bloom.
All of them, they're not independent.
Nobody's independent. So
yeah,
from the they are correct that they have majority of non-executive directors because they've got 1, 2, 3 non-executive directors out of 5. So that is correct. What is incorrect is that the majority of the non-executive directors are not independent.
All right.
Cool.
That's what I wanted to say.
That's why I want you to speak your thought process, get into your mind so you can correct what's going on in your mind.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And then the second one is the chairperson of the board. So in terms of the chairperson of the board must be non-executive director and then also independent.
That is correct.
So in this case, they're not complying with King 4.
Okay, so what does King say if you have a chairperson who is not independent, non-executive?
They can appoint a lead chairperson?
Yeah, you can have a lead independent director.
All right.
Does it look like they have one?
No.
So that's also a concern, right? So each and everything that you guys are saying that I'm trying to prompt you guys to say, that warrants a mark. That's 1 mark, 1 mark, 1 mark. You're passing now. Do you feel yourself passing?
Thought process issue.
Yeah.
So how can you put it down that the issue of the board composition not having the lead independent?
So you can say
Because
that Oswald Titus is the chairperson of the board. Due to his shareholding in the company, he is not independent. King requires that the chairperson of the board be independent, non-executive. Full stop.
nothing of the lead independent.
1 mark, right? Because it's a concern. That's your first concern. That's 1 mark.
Okay.
The second concern is that it does not appear that there is a lead independent non-executive to compensate for the fact that the chairperson is not an independent non-executive director. This is also non-compliance with King. Full stop.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Are we happy? Are we happy with that wording?
sorry, can I have something?
Yes, I just want to check if the gentleman is happy with my wording.
Okay.
Yes, man, because the problem is always how to put it, not because you do not know.
Which is why I want to jump inside your minds tonight. So do you know now how to put it?
Yes, I understand now.
Perfect, thank you. Then there was a lady who wanted to say something.
Yes, with regards to the lead independent, are we then saying that if the chairperson is now non-executive as well as independent, we'd not need to recommend the board having a lead independent?
Yes, so if the chairperson was an independent non-executive director, I don't think it would be necessary to mention that there's no lead independent director.
So we won't be marked in an exam or a test?
If I was the examiner, I wouldn't create a mark for it because it's not a concern.
Okay, makes sense.
Cool. Unless maybe it talks about critically evaluating the appropriateness of the board structure, right? And then you've got, they tell you there that there is a lead independent. Then in terms of evaluating, you would say it's correct. They've got a lead independent and this is correct. It is in compliance with King.
Okay, perfect.
Thank
you.
But if they're asking you for concerns and things like that, I don't think it would be worth mentioning because it's not a concern if the chairperson is independent, non-executive.
Okay.
I have a mini concern. Oh, sorry, you're talking.
What is your mini concern?
Because it once caught me while I was practicing.
Mm-hmm.
You see Lily Bloom?
Yes.
She's an atheist. Sorry, guys. Today I'm my tongue. Atheistic gardener, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, the financial literacy part. So now, why I say that it might be a concern or not, because in other questions that I've tried, they don't really see who does not have the financial literacy or the qualification. It was never written on the memo that is a concern.
Okay, so your concern is her qualification.
Yes, because like he's a managing director because he's a founder of PG, right? Perfect. But now he's an enthusiastic, like he's a gardener. So now I'm thinking, if I was on the exam environment, I'll be like, oh, but how sure am I that this one has the critical skills, financial critical skills like the others?
Why do you want her to have financial skills? She's not the CFO.
Because I was looking at King. I'm sorry. That's why. Yeah, I just want to just go to the page quickly. I'll come back to you. Can we put that one on hold, please?
Yes, you can. Does anybody else?
I'm back.
Okay, hi.
Hi. Sorry, because the thing is that it says that it needs a necessary financial literacy skills and experience. So now my question is that is it only for audit?
The board as a whole, right?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, continue.
Yeah, so please, can you please help me in that thought process, because it might be a small thing, but I feel like I'm losing unnecessary mark.
Lily is a managing director, right?
Yes.
She's also the founder of PG, and she's a gardener. PG has a nursery, so it's like a gardening business, I suppose.
Okay.
Lily is not the whole entire board. So when they say the board must have financial literacy skills, Daisy is a CA. She's financially literate. There is financial skill on the board. So why do you want Lily to have financial qualification?
To have the same language?
They don't
so
need
she
to.
can understand. That's how I was thinking at that time. But since you said I don't need to,
That would
I can.
mean, remember yesterday I said you need to think practically when it comes to audit, right? That
Yeah.
would mean, according to your understanding, anybody who's an engineer cannot sit on the board of directors because they don't have financial literacy. Anybody who's a doctor cannot sit on a board of directors because they don't have financial literacy. Discovery is a medical scheme. They've got a lot of doctors on their board because they bring medical expertise to the table. They might not understand budgets, they might not understand financial projections and things, but they understand medicine. They know what is good medical equipment to purchase, etc. And that does enhance the business, doesn't it?
It does.
So with Daisy being a gardener, wouldn't she know which plants to buy, which plants are popular, how to treat those plants, how to help them grow, and also how to advise clients that are coming to the nursery on which plants to buy, how to grow their grass, how to do
now I see where I missed it on the thought process. So I must first look at what the business activities are all about. And if they don't relate, it can be a problem.
Yes, it would be a problem if she was a gardener sitting on a medical board.
All right. Thank you very much.
Cool.
You helped a lot.
I'm glad. Are we seeing any other issues here? This one has a lot of issues. We're going to be on this one for a while. So I need you guys to unblock these blocks.
So can I ask something?
Yes, you can always ask a question.
This company is a private limited company.
Yes.
Would we analyze the board composition the same way that we would analyze a listed company, for instance?
Yes, we will, because the shareholders recognized the importance of a well-constituted board of directors.
Okay.
So what is a well-constituted board? Yesterday we spoke about how King is not mandatory for private companies, but it is considered to be business practice.
So that's what I was thinking in my head, that they are a private company, so they are not like really mandated. So if it is mentioned that the board recognizes the importance of like the provisions of King 4, then I have to go with the King 4 provisions.
In any private company, even if it's not stating that the board recognizes it, you'll go for it because there your basis will be that even though the company is not listed, it is always good business practice to apply King where possible.
Oh, I
In this
get
case,
it now.
your motivation for using king is because they recognize a well-constituted board. They also then start to tell us that as a private company, relying on the proportionality principle recognized in King report as an alternative option, the board agreed that no committees should be established. So they are aware of King, and they are taking some of the principles from King. So they're already applying it, they're just not applying it in the board composition.
Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Cool. Then
May,
while we're
may I
talking-
try?
Yeah.
No, you can go first. The other
No,
one.
first try. I won't forget. You will forget.
Can I please ask? You mentioned something about the non-executive director and the chairperson. You said that according to Kings, they could be appointed by a leading. It's just that I don't get that. I initially thought that if you're non-executive director, if you're part of the board, you can't. Can you still be a chairperson?
The chairperson needs to be independent, non-executive. That's what King recommends. But in a case where a
Okay,
chairperson
okay, thank you.
is executive, you are allowed to have a lead independent director who would then compensate. So the lead independent director, you would basically have two chairpersons in that case. They would work together.
Okay.
That lead independent would compensate for the fact that your chairperson is not independent.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. But what is absolutely, absolutely not allowed is for the CEO to also be the chairperson.
Okay, thank
There's
you.
no compensating thing for that. Okay, what else are we seeing here, guys?
I see that they don't have a secretary.
They don't have a company secretary, but remember they're
Secretary?
applying the proportionality principle.
Okay. What about also not having an audit committee or a nomination committee and a risk and management committee?
So that is exactly it. They are using the proportionality principle as an excuse not to comply with King, which is incorrect. So you'll raise that as a concern because the proportionality principle is there to be practical, but it's not there for companies to use as an excuse. Let's start with this question. Do you guys know what the proportionality principle is?
No.
Okay. Remember that King is actually required to be applied by listed companies. So listed companies have to apply King, right? Yes or no?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Why is it that listed companies don't have a choice and private companies have a choice?
Maybe for the public interest.
Yeah, the public interest, because they're listed, right? So King brings in certain governance principles that enhances the transparency element when it comes to public interest. That's one of the reasons. What is another thing that also relates to, let's look at when you do valuations in math. When you do valuations in math and you are adjusting for risk factors, there's somewhere where you process an adjustment against the WACC for a company that is listed versus a company that is not listed. Do you guys remember that?
Yes.
Why do you do that? Well, I mean, because of the size, right? One company is bigger than the other company, so the risks are not the same. With a bigger company, the risk is more because there's more shareholders and those shareholders can lose out more than the other shareholders, right? So the size of a listed company is not the same as the size of a private company. Do we agree?
I'm
Yes.
lost
You're lost. Where did I lose you?
at the last sentence. Sorry.
That a private company is not the same size as a listed company.
Why did we come up with that? Like before that, I'm sorry
We're
for making
talking
you
about,
to repeat this.
we're talking about the proportionality principle.
Okay. So we're
So
comparing the sizes to get to the definition of it.
I'm trying to explain the proportionality principle to you.
Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
King says you can use the proportionality principle. So I asked, why is it that a listed company does not have a choice when it comes to complying with King, and a private company does have a choice? Somebody mentioned very correctly so that the one is public interest and the other one is not. And that is correct. From a public interest perspective, King brings governance aspects that enhance transparency and being a corporate citizen and all of those nice things that shareholders are interested in. A private company does not necessarily have all of that. One of the factors in that is also because of the size of the company, because the companies are not the same size. So King says, I acknowledge that a private company is not the same size as a listed company. So maybe you'll have a small board of directors. And if you have a small board of directors, I'm not expecting you to have a nominations committee. I'm not expecting you to have an IT committee. I'm not expecting you to have a risk committee. I'm not expecting you to have all these, because you've only got 5 board members. It might not be possible for you based on the size. Whereas in a listed company, you could have 20 directors, and it could be very well possible to come up with 14 board committees. So
Okay.
King
No,
said,
thank you very much. I understand now.
okay, so does everybody understand the proportionality principle? King says, apply King in as far as it is practical for your company. So if it's not practical for your company to have a remuneration committee, then it's not practical, and a remuneration committee is not required. But audit committees are required, so you need to try by all means to have one. If your PI score is over 500 in 2 consecutive years and you're a private company, you are required by the Companies Act to have a social and ethics committee. So you can't use the proportionality principle to say, oh, well, we don't have a social and ethics committee. Well, make a plan to get one. That's kind of the thing there, is that where you can't comply with King and it is required by law for you to have certain committees, you need to make a plan to have those committees. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Agree,
thank you.
disagree, or are they question marks? Sorry? Okay. All right. So our concern is that they're using the proportionality principle as an excuse not to comply with King. And that is also a mark. So something to look out for. Is there anything else that you guys are seeing?
Maybe just to find out, when we analyze this, the composition of the board, do we only look out for the wrong things, or we only look out for the right things that they are doing?
It depends on what the required is asking you.
Okay.
What do you want to point out that is either a wrong thing or a right thing?
That there's diversity, because if you can check, we've got males and females in there.
Yeah, that is a good point. There is diversity in the board. That could be raised if the required is asking you to perhaps just analyze the structure.
And also that the board members possesses different skill set, because we've got politicians there, we've got business people, and also accountants.
Okay, so let's talk about the skills. So I'm agreeing with you that the diversity is a good point to bring in. We've got 3 females and 2 males, right? At this point, we don't have enough information to conclude on the race diversity, but from a gender perspective, we like the diversity, right? Let's talk about their background. They're giving us a lot of information here. Oswald Titus is a politician and also the former mayor of Paarl. How do you feel about that?
Sorry, can I ask,
Yes.
why did you conclude that there is gender diversity?
Lily, Daisy, and Palisa appear to be females. Pine and Oswald are males.
Are we not told that we're not supposed to assume, like, for example, my name is Matomi Maponyane, and most of the time you think Matomi is a boy, while Matomi is a girl. So are we not supposed to get the title
We're not assuming.
for us
We are told that she's a businesswoman, and then we were told here that she's a daughter, and then we were
Lily?
told with Lily, I think they refer to her as she somewhere. Blah blah blah. Due to the recent Lily diversified customers. Okay, I can't find it now because I'm looking very quickly, but I am pretty sure that there is somewhere where they told us that Lily is female. So that one is also not an assumption.
Okay, so we have to look at the scenario.
Even going back the other way, there would still be diversity because you would have two females and you would have females, even if you were to go the other way.
Thank you.
Okay. So we were unpacking the backgrounds that we were given.
Can I point something that I'm seeing? So looking at Daisy, she completed her qualification in 2021, and yet she's responsible for PG's entire accounting function, including the banking of all the cash receipts. So I see that as a red flag.
Why? Keep going. At this point, you haven't earned a mark yet, but you've got the mark as interest.
Okay. So maybe I'm not sure if I could maybe put in that her experience maybe.
Yeah, we're worried that she doesn't have the sufficient experience and expertise to be on the board. She's got the qualifications, but you're just worried about her experience, especially with the role that she's been given.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct. That's a mark. Well done. Anything else?
So which principle will we be referring to with that, ma'am?
So this isn't a principle. Remember, we are. Oh, you mean the king principle?
Yes, ma'am.
We're still discussing the composition of the board. So I think it's principle 8.
Okay.
But you don't need to quote the principle.
So with that thing of apply and exclude, they're not supposed to just quote the principle, then put the contextualize them according to the context. Apply
You don't need to put the principle. You don't need to quote the principle.
Understood.
Okay. Let's continue analyzing this board.
Oh, I just wanted to say board composition is principle 7.
Oh, thank you. Not principle 8, principle 7. Thank you. Guys, there's a lot of people on this board. Let's go back to Oswald. Oswald is a politician and the former mayor of Paarl. How do you guys feel about that?
His behavior might, we didn't say anything, but it can, because we didn't read further, but well known as politicians, they might have a behavior issue like corruption and so on. But I'm not saying that he is not a good politician.
Okay, let's maybe take a step back because we don't want to be accusatory, but you are on the right track.
Yes.
Let's say maybe customers don't agree with his political affiliation and that alienates our market. Maybe some customers don't come to us because they don't like his political party.
Okay. Yeah,
that
that's a good one. Yeah.
That is a consideration. And it's not accusatory because you're not accusing him of anything. You're just saying that his affiliation might be a problem. You must be careful not to make accusatory statements when there's no concrete evidence.
So
What
ma'am,
else?
when analyzing the composition, I'm a bit lost here. When analyzing the composition, you're not supposed to look directly within the context of King.
It is in the context of King. Remember that the board of directors is supposed to create value. It does not create value if you have a board member who alienates customers.
Okay,
or who could potentially alienate customers. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, cool. Anything else that we think about Oswald? So if we are worried that he could potentially alienate customers.
I think I'm also worried that he might kind of intimidate other board members when it comes to decision making, given the fact that he's a politician and has that power. He's a chairperson and also a former mayor, which means he's well connected. So he might actually bully other board members.
I like
I'm
that
not
he's
sure.
well connected. I like that he's well connected, right? Let's not focus too much on the bad things. Again, remember, we don't have concrete evidence. If maybe there was a discussion about a deal potentially with government, you know, we can take a look at it from that perspective. I think there is if we read further down. But just looking at what we have now, based on the fact that he's well connected, as the mayor, he could have, you know, a good understanding of the demographics of the people that live in that town. He would be able to understand the population, the tourist trends, know when is a good season, is a bad season. Remember, there's also a restaurant there, know how to promote it from a tourism aspect. So he could add value in that perspective.
I agree. However, I do have another concern around the very same point. If he is in a position of advocating for the company, now wouldn't that be a problem when it comes to his independence?
He's not independent. We've already established that he's not independent. He's a shareholder. So he's not. He's definitely not independent, and nothing can make him independent at this point.
Okay, because I was looking at that point from the perspective of us raising that as a concern. We raised that as a concern that he's not independent. And then now if we again applause the fact that he is in a position whereby he can benefit the company through his connections, isn't that now us contradicting a bit?
No, we're saying we have a problem with him being the chairperson, but we don't necessarily have too much of a problem with him being on the board. He can just be a non-executive director on the board.
Oh, okay.
But with him just being a non-executive. So again, this thing can go back and forth. There's different ways to look at it. And that's what I'm trying to show you guys, is that you don't only have to look at the negative side, you can also look at the positive side. And if you can't find it in between, you can also say that it's actually unclear what expertise this man brings to the board because he's in the political and municipal space. What does he know about running a business? That's also a valid consideration. Okay. Especially given that he's the chairperson.
Yeah.
So that is also a concern.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. What about, yeah?
Okay.
So,
okay.
Somebody said so.
Hi.
Can I ask? Can I good evening, everyone. May I ask that if the question specifies that we must make the concerns with the application of King 4, is it necessary to also look at the positive side of the things?
No. If you're discussing concerns, you only say the negative. But sometimes they can ask you to analyze, and if you're analyzing, you're talking good and bad.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay. Somebody else wanted to say something?
Okay, so I wanted to say that Pine, the concern that I have noted is that Pine Prince is a managing partner of a firm of professional accountants. So there's a concern that he might not have sufficient time available to fulfill responsibilities of the governing body.
That is a very good point. That is a very good point. You won't see it on the solution, but if you were to bring that up, the markers would consider it. That is a good point. Well done. While we're talking about Pine being a managing partner of a firm, do you think he has the required business knowledge to be on the board of directors?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. I also think Palesa,
By
because
virtue of being a
she's a
founder, yes.
businesswoman. Yeah, so I think that in that aspect, we can bring a positive to say balance in knowledge, because Pine and Palesa have knowledge of operating businesses. And they can bring that knowledge to the board.
Okay, so ma'am, so when it comes to CAs, even though we are analyzing the board composition, are we allowed to bring in the CPC ethics?
Well, what do you want to bring in?
For example, now that Pine is also the managing partner of the auditing firm that audits PG, then there could be advocacy right there.
No, he's not the managing partner of the partner that audits PG. It says here, managing partner of Prince Inc., a firm of professional accountants, but does not provide any services to PG.
What do you mean?
Are we clear? The auditors
Yes,
for PG is WW, Wise and Willow. Okay. Anything else? We're almost there, guys. Let's take a look at the fact that Daisy Bloom is related to Lily Bloom and Pine is dating Daisy. So this is like a family setup, right? 3 of them, the majority of them have a personal affiliation with each other. Don't you think that that could potentially undermine their ability to hold each other accountable?
Yes, I agree.
Cool. Anything else? I think also just on that as well, it's quite clear. This one started dating in 2019. This one was appointed in 2019. Is it not maybe that he was appointed just because they were dating?
But can I ask?
Yeah.
Is that I get that at the 2019 and I understand your point, but is it we are not putting on point of assumptions? And if we look at, is it not thinking practical, the HR department, you in I don't know if it's still there, but in according to HR, you need to disclose any relationship you have
It's been
with somebody
disclosed.
else. So it looks like
we also know because the relationship has been disclosed. So we're not saying that we have a problem with the fact that he was appointed and that they're dating. We are saying that potentially, even though he has the ability to provide good business insight, we are worried that his relationship with Daisy won't keep him objective. What if Daisy wants to do something that doesn't necessarily make financial sense, and because he doesn't want to fight with Daisy, he ends up agreeing instead of bringing his own professional judgment in? His professional judgment could be compromised by that. We're not saying that it is, we are saying that it is a concern that it could potentially be compromised. We don't make accusations.
Oh.
We don't make accusations, guys. Please be clear. We talk about what it appears to be, what it could potentially mean, and what we are concerned could happen. Because we're talking risk here, right?
Yes.
A
Now I
risk means
see.
what could go wrong, not what necessarily will go wrong, but what could go wrong. It is possible. It is a possibility. And that is also another mark.
While we're still here talking about their close relationships, now I want to check, because it's easier to discuss this matter when the company is a listed entity or a big entity and not just a small entity. And for a small entity that has just 5 board of directors. Thank you.
But that's why the proportionality principle is considered.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Then what about Daisy and Lily? I mean, in this aspect, when you look at a familial relationship, don't you think Lily will tell Daisy, look, I gave birth to you, and this is my, I started this business, so you will agree with me. It's also possible, right? That she could be put under pressure to agree with her mom, even when she doesn't agree with her mom. You could also look at it in a different way. If the business was failing, you know, and maybe Daisy could manipulate financial statements to make it look like the business is doing well.
I agree.
She doesn't want her mom to feel like her business is failing. And then Pine could also be unduly influenced by Lily because he wants to impress his future mother-in-law. And so maybe he won't act against her when making decisions. So those are the things that we need to think about when it comes to keeping board members accountable. Okay. Then we're also worried about Daisy from the fact that she's the one who's recommending the auditors. She is a CA. She's aware that that's not what she's supposed to do, or she should be aware that that's what she's, you know, not supposed to do. But it looks like from an ethical perspective and from a code of conduct perspective, she's lacking a little bit. And the board says, King says that the board should act with ethical leadership. Right? So we're worried about Daisy's ethics just a little bit. Sure, we've unpacked quite a lot of things, and on the required, this was only 9 marks. But do you see how much you can pull out from such a small piece of information? How many times do you guys just read over this and go, yeah, okay, yeah, and then go to the next thing? Okay. Are we happy with this? Do we have any questions when it comes to analyzing the board of directors?
We are fine.
I am happy. Okay. Then they talk about the summarized financial data, right? The following financial data has been extracted from PG's financial records at 30 September 2022. We've got unaudited figures of 2022, and then we've got the reviewed figures. Remember, they underwent independent review. They tell us about the revenue. We've got the different revenue streams. What we are seeing is that there's an increase in all of the revenue streams from prior year to current year, but they're not increasing in the same proportionality, right? We're also seeing that there was a loss in the prior year, and now this year there's a profit. Then we'll take a look at the PPE, which has decreased a bit. So there's probably a bit of depreciation, and maybe there weren't any acquisitions. That is a possibility. We've got some inventory that has increased. We've got some receivables that have also increased. We've got a cash balance that has increased slightly. And then we've got some current liabilities that have decreased, some long-term liabilities that have decreased, and some equity that has increased. When we look at that, what do we think? What do we see?
I think this also will assist in terms of calculating the PI.
Yes, definitely. It will assist because you've got the revenue figures. You've got the revenue figure and you've got your liability figures. And we also have that employee information, right? What else do you see? So when it comes to the increase, I mean, here we went from 3,000 to 4,000, so quite a big increase, and I suppose 4,700. So I mean, it's almost a 2,000 increase. Here we went from 5,700 to 6,900, also a very big increase. But here we only went from 4,200 to 4,298, very, very small increase. Remember that the green room is the restaurant, green fingers is the nursery, and green space is the market, right? Do you think it makes sense to have such a big increase in foot traffic at the market and at the nursery, and then people just go home and decide not to eat? When you guys go like to farmers market and you go to neighbor goods market, and don't you guys sit down and eat?
To be honest, no.
You go to the market and you spend 5 hours at a market and you don't eat.
Oh, no, we don't eat. We do. But the way you're saying it is like as if we're sitting down, we're relaxing, and then we're like, let's eat. Like, no. I really think that
Yeah, but
we
I
do
mean,
eat. But how's...
Sorry?
No, no, no.
So does it make sense to you that the increase is so tiny? I mean, it's less than 5% increase. And the others have big increases. We can calculate this. Let me calculate it quickly. Green fingers has an increase of 21%. Green space has an increase of 58%. And green room only has an increase of 1.9%. With such a big increase in foot traffic, why would the restaurant not make money? Like, even if you're not going to sit down and eat, people would go buy and buy cool drinks, they'd buy chips, they'd buy snacks, they'd buy, I mean, something, even do takeaways, right? So what are you guys worried about? Are you even worried? I'm worried. I'm very worried.
Maybe the revenue is understated.
Yeah, that could be a completeness issue. 100% correct. The green room revenue could be incomplete. Or you could go the other way and say that the other revenues are overstated. Maybe there's fake sales that are being pushed in there. Because that's also a possibility, right? We're looking at what could possibly be going wrong. What else are you guys seeing?
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can you bring both points at the same time, that there could be a completeness issue and that there could be a fraud issue?
I wouldn't advise that you bring the issues in at the same time. I'm just pointing out that it could be both sides. You could have thought about it from both sides. The reason why from a risk assessment you can't bring both of them in is that you can't say that revenue is incomplete but also overstated at the same time. It's one or the other.
Okay.
Even from an ISA perspective, when it comes to your fraud risk is either raised on the completeness of revenue or it's raised on revenue recognition. You don't raise it on both. So it can't be, the bottle can't be full and empty at the same time. It's either full or it's empty.
And in those instances, would both be correct? Like if two different people have one or the other.
Remember, the whole point here is that you need to learn when you bring a concern in, you need to explain it. So if you're explaining it and it makes sense that there could be an occurrence issue, then you'll get the mark. And if you're bringing it in and you're explaining that there could be a completeness issue, then you'll get the mark. So maybe
so for this,
you could say because they were recovering from COVID, maybe there was increased pressure for them to overstate revenue. And so it's plausible that the revenue is overstated. Or because, remember it says there that there's the share scheme. It says the share scheme, there's an employee share scheme. So maybe the employees could be pressurized to overstate revenue.
oh, okay. Because I was thinking of the bonuses.
Yes, exactly that.
Okay.
Yeah. So from a bonus level, that speaks to overall financial statement level, because then you talk about overall manipulation of the financial statement. But then when you talk about assertion, from an assertion perspective, you can't have a completeness risk and an occurrence risk at the same time.
Okay, I understand.
I don't think so. I don't think it is possible. Okay. Anything else?
I just want to know, do we get the recording of the clauses?
I don't know. You'll need to speak to the caretaking team.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let's also talk about the cash. Remember, everybody pays in cash, and some people even pay in advance, etc., etc. But the cash balances are looking a bit low. And Daisy is also responsible for the cash. Don't you think that there's a possibility for her to commit fraud there with misappropriation of assets? Do you guys think so? Do you not think so?
I think so.
Yeah, because remember they told us that cash comes to 20%. They do 20% of their takings from cash, right? And that is Green Fingers and Green Room. So 20% of what we see should translate into cash. But with such a small increase and then such big increases on the other side, it doesn't look like that translation is happening, right?
Yes.
Then also, when it comes to the occurrence point, right? Look at the receivables. Remember, we're not really expecting to see receivables, but it is possible because there are some people that only pay after 3 months because of COVID. So you would have some receivables, but the receivables balance is actually quite huge. That could be an overstatement of revenue. The balance is more than double what it was last year. So they could have just processed a lot of revenue and then put it against debtors. That's also a risk. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
Agree.
Agreed.
Cool. Anything else that you guys are seeing here? Then they give us the summary of the minutes of a board meeting of PG's directors held on 13 September 2022. Palliser and Pine submitted their apologies for not being able to attend. Lily reported that she had long been searching for a suitable property to replicate the Paul property business model. She has now identified a suitable property. For sale near Ceres, which is on the market for 16 million. One challenge is that this property is zoned for agricultural use, and until it is suitably rezoned, it cannot be used for PG's intended purpose. She added that she had obtained pre-approval from PG's bankers to provide the required funding for PG's acquisition of the land, as well as for the construction of the buildings that would be needed. The board, with the full support of Oswald, Lily, and Daisy, approved the following: to acquire the Ceres property at a price not exceeding 15 million. If the seller of the Ceres property accepts PG's offer, the construction of the buildings was to commence as soon as possible. Oswald noted that he was friends with several key councillors on Ceres municipality's mayoral committee, and he would persuade them to approve the property's rezoning quickly. He requested that an amount of 195,000 be allocated to him, use it at his discretion to pay any fees and any other expenses of the councillors for the rezoning application. To incentivize the executive directors of PG to maximize the company's profits, they will, with effect from financial year 2023, be entitled to an aggregate annual bonus amounting to 20% of the profits earned by PG to be shared equally by the two executive directors. Some of the stalls in green space are empty, even on busy weekends, which detracts from the customer experience. To attract more traders, a late stall booking discount of 50% on the normal rental fee will be offered with immediate effect. Traders who book empty stalls within 5 days of the relevant rental date will qualify for the discount. The above summary was extracted from the minutes of the board meeting, which was shared with all PG directors in early October 2022. The company's offer for the Ceres property was accepted on 13 October 2022, and the initial construction work started at the end of that month. It's quite a packed statement. How do you guys feel about what we just read?
I am concerned. I am concerned. Yes, mainly about that 195,000, which is said to be an incentive. So it appears to me that that might be a bribe to fast track the process. Yes, and then that's non-compliance with the laws, which therefore means I am seeing that maybe we might be required to discuss NOCLA in the question.
Who needs to discuss NOCLA?
I am saying that maybe when I'm still reading this information and not yet having viewed the required, that might be an indication that I might need to discuss NOCLA, but then obviously I need to
NOCLA from whose perspective? Who will have the responsibility?
It's Daisy, since she's an accountant and she's required to comply with Part A and Part 1 and Part 2.
Well, yeah. Daisy approved this. I mean, she approved this. Would she be reporting herself? Because the board, with the full support of Oswald, Lily, and Daisy, approved the following.
Oh yeah, I doubt she would.
Herself.
Okay, maybe I would want to discuss in terms of the CPC. I see that. Yeah, maybe the CPC.
From she would have approved something like this, but you're not wrong when it comes to reporting the non-compliance. You were just missing who needs to do it.
Okay, I'll need to go back to the question and see. Thank you.
Well, we can take a look, right? On the board of directors, we have 2 CAs. So
Yes,
the other one
correct.
is fine. Daisy is not going to report it out, so the left is fine.
Yeah,
We
I
have
see
an
that.
expectation that Pine should report.
Yes. Pine should be the one that's reporting. Actually,
Pine
that's
is
what
going to say, you know what, I actually was not there and I submitted my apologies. I didn't attend the meeting.
which means he's not implicated in this decision. Okay, yeah.
He's not implicated, but that doesn't take away his responsibility.
Yeah. Okay, I
Remember,
agree.
what do you agree with?
The fact that Pine is the one that has the responsibility to report, since he.
But he's going to say, I was not there.
But then, as
Now you need to debate with Pine. I am Pine, and you are telling me I have a responsibility to report. I'm telling you, I was not at that meeting. So how can you expect me to report?
Okay, the fact that he was not he was not part of the meeting doesn't mean that the decisions that are taken there, he is not. Okay, no, I can't come from
You're
that.
on the right track. Keep coming there. Keep going.
Sorry, madam. Sorry.
Yeah.
Can you say that maybe that Pine was given a copy of the minutes of the meeting, so he's supposed to be aware?
Yes, he received the minutes. Given the minutes, so he is aware, and because he is aware, he has a responsibility to report.
Oh yeah, thank you for that assistance.
Okay, great. What else is bothering us here?
Can we also talk about the close relationship? Since he said he was friends with the several key councillors, isn't it that he's not supposed to be part of the decision making of the contract?
Who is he?
Oswald. Oswald said he was friends with the several key councillors, and he requested an amount. So since he is friends with them, isn't he not supposed to be part of the negotiating of the deal, since he is friends with them and it could indicate personal financial interest?
Why is there personal financial interest?
Because of the having a relationship with the key councillors.
Okay, you can know people.
Sorry, if I may ask this question, madam. That 195K that is been given to Mr. Oswald, can you classify that as maybe as a financial assistance of some sort?
You need to explain to me why you want it to be financial assistance. And then I can tell you if it should or shouldn't be.
Because he's going to use the money at his discretion. And of course, he'll also want a cash from that.
He's going to use the money to pay for fees and expenses of the councillors. It's not at his discretion. He's already disclosed exactly what he's going to do with it.
Okay, I see that. now.
May I try?
Yes, please.
What about the director's personal interest?
So I need you guys to explain this personal interest.
When I said that he did not, okay, let me try to explain it. I think that, for example, that they did not disclose the English. I'll come back to it. Let me just quickly go back to my ex.
Can I try?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the integrity of those charged with governance here will be questionable since Titus wants to pay bribe to the councillors.
Yeah, we have a concern with the integrity of the directors. We feel like these directors are not acting with integrity. Management's integrity is questionable. I agree with you, and that is a mark.
What about the fact that 2 of the non-executive directors were not present at the meeting and did not participate in the decision-making in buying the land?
What about it?
Just trying to think. But I think that's a red flag for me because 2 of the non-executive directors were not part of the meeting. And then the other directors made a decision, a significant
Well, Oswald was
decision.
there, and Oswald is a non-executive director.
But then shouldn't there be a balance in meetings such as this?
There was enough to form a quorum. 3 of the 5 were there.
No, but then looking at the ratio between the executive and the non-executive.
There's no rule that says in order to vote, you have to have most of the non-executive directors to be there.
Okay.
The Companies Act just says that when you have a meeting and you need to make a decision, you need to meet a quorum.
Okay.
Quorum, I think, is defined as 50% in a normal meeting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there's 60% of the directors there. Oh, guys, such a big paragraph. Talk to me.
Could you also talk about the bonus that it doesn't seem fair that 2 people are not getting 20% of the bonus?
Sorry, it's breaking up there.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me now?
I can, vaguely, but I can. Okay, let's talk about the fact that this meeting was held on the 13th of September, right? And then it says that the offer was accepted on 13 October and the initial construction work started at the end of that month. They told us that the challenge is that the property is zoned and needs to be rezoned. Do you think the rezoning happened in 15 days? They started constructing before they got the rezoning. That's illegal. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
So when it comes to that, who does Pine need to report to? Doesn't he need to go to the police?
Yes, because an unlawful activity has taken place. So maybe, yeah, to the police.
Yeah. Also, at the same time, there was this bribe. Doesn't SAPS have a fraud division? Doesn't he need to go and report the fraud there in terms of the Corruption Act, the Anti-Corruption Act? And then also, Shem, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He was not there, right? Then when he receives the minutes in October, He was supposed to call another urgent board meeting and say, guys, look, whoa, hold on. I see you guys approved this thing, but this is my concern. Isn't that his fiduciary duty as director?
When you step on for that ring, you better stay 5 meters away, because if I lose it, you're going to have a really bad time, my friend. So
remember, we spoke about the ability to hold each other accountable. That would be him holding them accountable. Is that not an expectation that you have for him under Section 76 of the Companies Act?
Yes, that's right.
Step on for that ring, you better stay 5 meters away, because if I lose it, you're going to have a really bad.
Then also, in terms of the directors as a whole, they've gone and they've approved all of these illegal things. All of these illegal things are going to bring fines to the company. None of these directors are acting within their fiduciary duty. The CPC also has different measures. Remember when we talk about accountants in business, remember we spoke about junior accountants and senior accountants. Pine owns a business, so he's been a CA for quite a while. It is expected that he's a senior accountant, and there's different expectations, especially when it comes to non-compliance. So there's more pressure on him to be the one to report, because he really should know better. And then, because the CPC is saying he should know better, apart from his responsibility in terms of Section 76, he also has a responsibility in terms of Section 260 of the CPC, that he needs to report this to the board of directors and tell them, you know, look, this is wrong. This is what we need to do to fix it. Then does Pine need to talk to the auditors? Does he need to tell the auditors?
Yes, most definitely.
Well, we don't know that he needs to tell them, but he definitely needs to consider it, right? He needs to consider the impact of this on the external audit.
Sorry, are we saying that he is not obligated, or he doesn't have a duty to report or to inform the auditors?
At this point, remember, he needs also a full understanding of what exactly has happened. It's just that from the minutes what we are reading, it looks like there is corruption. It looks like an illegal act has taken place, and it looks like there has been a bribe. So he needs to first consider these things. He also needs to speak to the board. If he speaks to the board and the board decides to ratify the decision, it might not be necessary to tell the auditors because they fixed it. And also the auditors will pick it up when they read the minutes of the meeting in any case. But he definitely needs to consider it. He can't just ignore the fact that there's external auditors who will express an opinion, and that opinion includes compliance with laws and regulations.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Cool. It is 8 o'clock now. Should we take a 15-minute break? And actually, no, let's first finish reading the paper. And then when we're done reading the paper, we can take a 15-minute break and then come back and discuss the solution. Is that fine? Can we push for another 20 to 30
Pay
minutes?
attention, don't be judgmental.
Yes, that's fine.
Sorry? Okay, let's push a little bit more. We're almost there though.
So can I
Okay.
ask a question? Or
Yeah.
can I answer something? So I don't remember the sections very well. Né? So on section, I think section 76 of Companies Act, it says the directors must act in a good faith and best interest of the company.
Yes.
So this action is not yet confirmed, but I think the directors were not acting in the best interest of the company, because if it is known, the company might pay penalties for their illegalities. And then there's another section that says those who were available in the board meeting, they are good, they are
Liable.
good, they are the liability to pay the fines.
That is section 77,
Yeah.
and you're 100% correct.
Okay, it's correct.
Yes, it's correct. It's also a mark.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, you're passing. Can you feel yourselves passing?
Yeah, I see myself passing.
Yeah, that's what you need to see. Okay. Following the board's approval of the 50% discount for late stall bookings, Daisy recognized an opportunity. Daisy knew that many of the friends that she had made at university and while she was a trainee at WW were very creative and crafted products that could be sold at PG Traders Market. Daisy accordingly contacted these friends, told them that she could negotiate special rates for them at Green Space. She proposed that she would book stalls using the Green Space booking application for the required dates using fictitious trader details. She would then cancel these a few days before the market date and then make last-minute bookings of the stalls for her friends. She would charge them 75% of the normal fee and ask that they pay the amount due into her personal bank account. She would thereafter deposit 50% of the normal fee, i.e. the late stall discounted rate, into PG's bank account. It's like, what a wow, right? How do you guys feel about what Daisy's doing?
I think we can see why it was a small increase in revenue.
There's what? Sorry?
Earlier on, we were discussing the increases in the profitability and the revenue.
Yeah. What about the revenue?
Risk that the revenue will be misstated.
Okay. It could be a lot of things. There's many assertions. What are you talking about? Which assertion are you talking about?
Revenue.
Yes, that's a line item.
Oh, sorry. Oh.
So which assertion? Completeness, occurrence?
Completeness. And also occurrence.
Why completeness?
Okay, let's see from the source to... Okay, let me think about it first.
Okay. Anybody else have issues with this paragraph?
Can't we say irregularity?
A reportable
Hello?
irregularity. A reportable
Yes.
irregularity.
Yes, yes.
Okay, motivate.
First of all, it's just me trying because I was
This is safe space. This is such a safe space. This is where you must try.
First of all, I was looking at Daisy, and Daisy is a director. So if I look at director, isn't he part of the management team or one of those upper hand people? And then I see an unlawful act where he made where she made like she actually brought it up that she'll make a fake like you call she'll make fake trading details and then take it out last minute and bring their friends.
So what law?
And there's the law.
Would it not be considered as reckless trading?
Reckless trading. What does it mean?
Can it be? I don't know which law it's hitting though.
It's
Okay.
company.
So when it
Okay.
comes to an RI,
I
you have
think
the
it's
option of a law.
Companies Act.
Non-compliance with IFRS.
How is she
Of non-compliance with the Companies Act. Okay, now I'm just mumbling. Sorry.
Okay, let me help you. When you have an RI, you have an RI either because there was an unlawful act or
An omission.
okay. So what do we have here?
Okay. I'm not sure for RI. I think we have a breach of
Fraud.
fiduciary duty.
Isn't it fraud?
A fraud, yeah.
Okay, so remember, RI says you must have an unlawful act or omission that is committed by management. Then you start with the or test. The or means is a breach of fiduciary duty, will result in material financial losses, or is fraudulent. So before you can even get to those other ones, you need to start with an unlawful act or an omission. Do you have an unlawful act here?
Yes.
What is the law that is being broken?
Okay, so there's Companies Act Section 28, paragraph okay, it's Section 28, subsection 2. Okay, let me just read it. I'll get confused by trying to read these sections. But it says that companies' accounting records must be kept at or be accessible from the registered office of the company. Okay, the next one, it says it is an offense for the company with an intention to deceive or mislead any person to fail to keep accurate or complete accounting records, or to falsify any of its accounting records, or
So
permit any person to do so.
why do you believe that the accounting records would be falsified?
Because Daisy is responsible for the accounting function, and she's the one who is creating fictitious fictitious vendor details.
But then she's canceling them. She's
But
creating
then
them,
she won't be
so they're never
recording.
going to come to the financial statements. They're never going to be in the financial statements.
Listen.
Because she creates them and then she cancels them.
Can't it be PRICA?
PRICA.
I'm looking at the what you showed us yesterday, where there's irregularity examples.
Mm-hmm.
And then it
PRICA
says that it
was
constitutes.
where there was bribes in the previous discussion that we had now. So when it comes to reporting to SAPS, he would also report under PRICA. Pine would also report under PRICA.
Sorry, please repeat that. I missed that. Sorry.
So remember in the previous one, we spoke about corruption?
Yes.
And I spoke about the Corruption Act, that's PRICA. So Pine would have reported under PRICA. What Daisy is not necessarily corruption.
But it's fraudulent. Please help us.
It's tantamount. Yeah.
I think it is fraud, and then fraud is also covered under Section 34 of the PRICA.
So for PRICA, right, Daisy is also accountable under PRICA because of the bribe transaction that she approved, right? The PRICA is strictly limited to, right? Here, our issue is that Daisy is stealing money from the company. Basically, because what she's doing is, remember saying that if you come late, you will only book 50%. You will only pay 50% of the booking fee. So what Daisy is doing, she's making bookings in advance so that closer to the time, she can cancel those bookings and then there will be available bookings for her friends to book at the last minute. Her friends are going to book those bookings at 50%, but when they pay her, they're going to pay her 75% because she's convinced them that she's giving them a discount. So when they pay 75%, they think they're paying a discount. Meanwhile, Daisy's keeping the 25%, and then she's only paying over the 50%.
Can it affect SARS?
Okay.
So how does SARS feature?
I think what to call Daisy is a director in this case. So it goes back to that section 76, that fiduciary duty. And
But like,
they,
isn't there a tax invasion in this thing? Because she's keeping it 25% and there's a 75%, but yet they would claim it on a full 100%.
Who's going to claim it at 100%?
Oh, that's my last trial now.
Think broad, but be practical. Come back and be practical.
Okay.
Okay.
okay, so I was saying like, can't we then say since Daisy is also a director, then we fall back to say she is in breach of that section 76 of the Companies Act because she's not acting on the best interest of the company because of that 20% that is taken personally.
I like that one.
Yes.
I like that one. Then I also want to ask you guys from a CT perspective.
So that's the other thing. Then now when we look at the what to call, also looking at days, this is also like I'm trying to what to call. I was trying to help with the one for Companies Act, the law that is breached. But then also when you're looking at CPC.
Let me make this simple because it seems like you guys are going down a rabbit hole. There's no RI here because there's no unlawful act and there's no omission. Not necessarily. The biggest issues that are here is the fact that Daisy is breaching her fiduciary duty by not being honest. The honesty links back to not operating in a straightforward and honest manner, which is a CPC requirement under integrity, right? And she's doing this because she wants to make a little bit of money. And so she has a self-interest threat to integrity.
Yes, that was coming. That's where I was coming.
Okay. I'm glad I could help along.
Can I please add on that as I heard someone talking about section 76 here.
You mean section 75? I actually wanted us to go back to that. I'm still waiting for the person who said they are coming back to section 75 because we need to deal with that still up here. Do you see there's so much stuff that we haven't highlighted here? It means that there's issues we haven't discussed yet.
Oh, okay. So.
But you can continue with section 76 while we wait for one of your colleagues to
I wanted to say, as Daisy is a director, I think he's using his own position, his power for his own for her own advantage, for her own gain, for her own self, to gain by herself.
That is absolutely correct.
Yeah, for her own personal gain.
Yeah, and that is also bringing a self-interest threat to her professional behavior, right?
Yes.
What about her integrity since she's part of management?
Yes, remember we spoke about it and we said that we are questioning the director's integrity. We're questioning management's integrity.
Okay.
And then the lady who was talking about section 28, has she come back to us yet?
Hello, I'm back. I couldn't hear properly. I just heard the ladies section 28. I couldn't hear what was said before that.
I'm saying, have you come back? You said you were coming back. You were going to finish explaining section 28 to me.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought I was done. Maybe it was the other lady, because for mine you asked. Well, I got stuck where you said there wouldn't be in the accounting records, so I'm still
Yeah,
processing.
you were talking about them needing to have complete accounting records, remember? So from a
Yes.
completeness perspective, the accounting records are complete. But the second thing in section 28 talks about accuracy. So are the accounting records accurate?
No, I don't think they're accurate.
So from that perspective, you could argue a section 28.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Then who was talking to me about section 75? The personal interest. Somebody was talking to me about section 75, but they spoke about it in the wrong person. They were talking about it from Oswald's perspective. And I said, not Oswald. And then you said you were coming back. Okay, that's fine. We'll address it when we go through the solution then. Okay, so we discussed Daisy's entrepreneurial skills. Then the audit of PG's annual financial statements for financial year 2022. Following its appointment as registered auditors, WW commenced with planning the audit of PG's annual financial statements for financial year 2022 in early December 2022. The engagement partner drafted the overall audit strategy with the performance materiality figures set at 75,000 Rand. Next, the audit manager started preparing the audit plan. Anything in there? The only thing we know is that it was a September year end and they started in early December 2022. I suppose the question would be, what is the deadline? When do they need to finish? Because if they start in December 2022, financial statements need to be out within 6 months from year end. If year end was September, then it's October, November, December already, and then there's a December break, then they've got January, etc. So maybe from a pre-engagement perspective, you can look at the timing of how long it will take. Especially considering that this is a first-time audit and the prior year figures were not audited, and an auditor will still have to express an opinion on the opening balances. So whether or not there will be enough time for them to do that. And then, yeah, materiality we know is 75,000. So whenever we're discussing an issue, clearly that bribe is material, it's above 75,000. So maybe when Pine is considering, he might want to let the auditors know because it might be material for the auditors, right? Are we all still on the same page?
Yes.
Okay. So we've read the paper. What's next is the required. So I think we can take our 15-minute break and be back at 8:45. That's 15 minutes from now. No, it's not. We'll be back at 8:35. Okay. Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
I'll see you at 8:35.